is Soulmates real? Is it myth? Is it fiction? And how does this apply if someone's trying to find someone they're compatible with? Should they wait around for their soulmate?
It's better with us two. We're better together.
What's going on, everybody? Peeps, homies, peeps. Oh
Who
my.
says peeps? I think you just aged yourself a little bit.
That is wild. We are 5 seconds in. Peeps and homies. I was just being, whatever. Gang, crew, fam, gang. I'll look up some other things that are cooler. But we love you. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah.
This is the podcast all about faith, relationships, and bridge building. Basically, bridge building. We're trying to make bridge building sexy for the first time. And we talk about a lot of fun stuff on here. So if you're just joining us, welcome. And if you're just rocking with us for a while, we appreciate you so much. Huh?
We might need to do that again. Caden, aren't we supposed to turn the heat off?
They won't pick that up. It's the other heat.
Yeah, it's the other one.
Oh, it's the other heat.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, guys.
You want to do it again?
No, that's fine.
Yeah, we're good.
Keep it.
Keep it?
Why not? You guys can see the intricacies and the inner workings of what we're doing.
Word life.
Okay.
But I was just saying thank you. Just thank you so much to everybody who is donating. We got another donation the other day.
Oh, you didn't know
So
me.
grateful for that.
That's great. Thank you.
Yes, the Lord is good, and grateful for that, and all the followers, and everything. We really want to add value to your life. We take that seriously.
Yes.
Even if we were making $2 billion, we would still do what we're doing because we feel called to do it.
Yeah.
And we have not run out of purpose. You know what I mean?
That. Yeah.
So super grateful for y'all, and we're doing it for you. And for the Lord. Anything else we need to talk about housekeeping wise before we jump in?
Oh, like, comment, subscribe if you want to contribute to the different topics that we talk about on the pod.
Yep.
You can absolutely go to www.brettertogether.com and submit your questions, submit your ideas for topics. We absolutely would take that. I mean, a lot of you guys ask things in the comments, and sometimes that helps us pick topics. So continue to do that. If you guys want to donate to the upkeep and the continuation of this podcast, absolutely do that at brettertogether.com. You guys are the best tribe, and we're really grateful for you. And we're looking forward to this episode.
Amen. All right. So here we are. This episode has more soul than Korea.
Your jokes are supposed to be at the end.
I know. I was giving a bonus joke. Wait till the end for a decently good one. I'm not so confident in today's joke. But we're talking about soulmates today.
Soulmates.
Okay, so let's frame this up here. Soulmates is a very interesting topic.
Uh-huh.
We want to talk about it from a biblical perspective, a spiritual perspective. We want to talk about the history of it. We want to talk about, is it real? Is soulmates real? Is it myth? Is it fiction? And, how does this apply if someone's, trying to find someone they're compatible with? Should they wait around for their soulmate? Do we sometimes have too high of expectations for a relationship because of the soulmate myth or the culture, right? So, I mean, these are the things we're going to talk about today. And so I want to frame it up this way. I had a recent conversation with a friend who is, in a lot of ways, we were able to connect because it reminded me in some ways of our relationship, with having to take sabbaticals and, take time away to kind of figure things out. Not that we weren't like, it's a little different because we weren't like triggered or anything like that, but he's going through a situation, where, trying to sort through compatibility with potential spouse, and it's like one of those situations that feels cosmic to him and to her. Like there's this crazy connection they have, but they're trying to work it out in the real world. But like on all the graphs and scales, they just line up, and there's just this supernatural connection. And we had that. I remember during one of our sabbaticals while we were trying to figure out our bridge and how we could build it. We would go, no communication for 30 days or something like that. But we had a Google Calendar invite that was for our next meeting, right? So we'd go for a while, and I started to cheat a little bit, and I would communicate through the Google Calendar invite. Not very much, but I did it one time because I was driving in Missouri. You're in New York, and I had this moment of I just felt such a crazy love surge. And I looked up into the sky, and I just felt this love surge, this crazy connection to you. From thousands of miles away. And so I got into the Google Calendar invite to update it, and I sent you a message through it. It said, hey, at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on this day, did you feel that? And you messaged back and said, yes, I felt that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the stuff that movies are made of, this type of connection.
Did you write down exactly when that was? You have it?
I'm sure I've got it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to need that.
Yeah.
Send me that.
Okay. I'm sure I've got it. But so that's, the question is is that for everybody? Does everybody have access to that? Is that what everybody should be searching for? So just a little bit of context. The concept of soulmates has deep historical roots, notably in Greek mythology. In Plato's Symposium, Aristophanes recounts a myth where humans were originally androgynous beings with 4 arms, 4 legs, and a single head with 2 faces. Fearing their power, Zeus split them into 2, condemning each half to search for its other half to feel complete. In contemporary discussions, the idea of a soulmate, one person destined to be our perfect match, faces skepticism. Psychologists argue that believing in a singular soulmate can set unrealistic expectations, potentially hindering relationship satisfaction. They suggest that successful relationships are built on compatibility, communication, and effort rather than predestined perfection. Despite these critiques, the allure of finding a soulmate persists, influenced by cultural narratives and personal desires for deep connection. While the notion of a soulmate may be more myth than reality, it underscores the human yearning for profound and meaningful relationships. Okay. So, what are your thoughts about this idea of soulmates? Do you believe the idea of soulmates as described in ancient philosophy, like Plato's story, where humans are split in half and they're searching for their other half? That idea, where you kind of have the yin to your yang or whatever, and that person exists out there. Do you believe in that?
Honestly, that myth just sounds like a creation story with a few added extra layers. You know what I mean? Maybe it's a more human explanation of what happened, but it sounds very similar to what we see in Genesis, where God created man and then called them Adam. He created man in his image and then called them Adam. And at first it was just Adam. And then from his side, from a rib, the Lord, in Hebrew, the language is that he built Eve from the rib and then presented her to Adam. And it was only after Adam named all the animals that the Lord actually gave Eve to Adam, which is really interesting because you don't, even in the Bible storybooks, you see Adam and Eve kind of doing all the work in the garden together.
Right.
But initially, Adam was there as, I guess he represented both of them until he realized that he was alone. And he didn't realize that he was alone until after he had named all the animals. It was some rabbis will say that it's it's kind of like the Lord was showing him that there was no other companion for him, so that he wouldn't be looking elsewhere.
Ah,
Um, and so
that's
anyway,
an interesting idea.
it is an interesting idea because the animals were there. He found companionship, and you, in Jewish tradition and even in Hebrew, the significance of a name is a little bit more than you just picking a name out of a hat. You know, like we invent names now, you know, but names in this tradition, they mean a lot. In scripture, they mean a lot. When you see a person's name, it's a description of their character and their capability. And, you know, sometimes they would wait to name a child just, you know, so that, you know, it was very clear to them who the child was, and they put, you know, thought into it. And I mean, they also would later on, it just ended up being them naming people after, you know, people who are already in their bloodline. But names are very important. And so just I mean,
So are you saying Adam and Eve were soulmates?
I think that they were two parts of the same whole. I mean, there wasn't really any other mate for them. But when the Lord,
of course,
when the Lord fashioned Eve, he fashioned Eve from Adam's rib, right, from his side, is a part of him. She matched his DNA. She was his help meet, his battle partner, his, you know, his helper. You know, to a degree, she's there to, because the ribs protect the heart.
Right.
Right. So, you know, that's part of, some women will say that's part of our function. So anyway, that story just sounds like the creation, the sixth day of creation, when God made man and then fashioned Eve out of the rib and presented her to Adam. And he had enough sense by then to be like, yeah, you're it, you know? But it's interesting, he didn't give her a name until after the fall. Like, up until then, they were just like, she's a woman.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
A wombed man. Anyway, so that's what that story triggered for me. Do I think that soulmates are real? In the case of like an Adam and Eve situation, it's real by default because there wasn't anyone else.
Right.
I mean, there's some legends that say otherwise, but there's no one else, you know? I think if we look at relationship that way, like there's like no one else, that's cool. But then like, what if that person dies? And you're supposed to be alone for the rest of your life. You know, that kind of stuff.
Right, because it's also, it's not good that humans should be alone.
Right. So we're not supposed to just dwell alone because, you know, our soulmate is no longer there. So I don't know. To a degree, I really believe in some of the definitions that I found of soulmates. I found a few that kind of demystify like what we think about soulmates.
Okay.
But as for me, I think I believe in soulmates to a degree in a non-conventional sense.
Okay.
Not necessarily like there is only one person for you, which is what we tend to believe when we think about soulmates. But if you expand the definition, then soulmates you can have, in my opinion, I think you can have multiple throughout your life, and it doesn't have to just be romantic partners.
Okay. All right. Well, so wait, let's, all right. Okay. No, that's good. I kind of see where you're going. Let's pin it down on the one person thing. So there's this line of thinking that if everything were to play out the way it's supposed to, is there only one person for every person? You know what I'm saying? Like, does that make sense? Like, or are there infinite variations and possibilities of how it could work out. Like God doesn't just have one person for you. Like it's like let's say, yeah, I know it's post fall and we're in a fallen world, but let's say everything after the fall worked out. Everybody made the right choices, right? And if they made the right choices, would every one person be led to another person who is their other half? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Or is the lack of soulmates because of a fallen world and because of people's bad choices, which is just compounded, and like if it would have been how it was supposed to be, would everybody just have one? Or is that just false?
See, this is an interesting question because, okay, I think that is to a degree true. But then you think about, like, just the way you asked that question, I'm thinking about how the first two children that Eve had were men.
Right. Yeah, so like numerically.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
it wasn't like, yeah, everybody gets their, So, well, at least they were the two that were named.
Mhm.
She might have had
Right.
daughters between
That's-
then.
Right.
But, I think the biblical account is hilarious because it's just like,
Mhm.
if you don't have like the family stories that go with it, sometimes it could be like, wait, so we just skipped 100 years. Cool.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? Because it's like,
100%, yeah.
Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, and Cain kills Abel, and Cain is so distraught that the Lord is going to make him go away from his family because people will see him. What people? What other people at? What you talking about, Cain? People are going to see him and kill him because they know what he did.
Right.
What people we talking about? Obviously, there's some things in there that haven't been mentioned, right?
Yes.
So, and then he has a wife, and I'm like, what? And then he has sons, and the son has two wives. I'm like, where did these women come from? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I think that, like I said, I don't think that it's as simple as what we're like the way we're making it. Like I don't think it's just one person, because even when you do find someone and you're like, oh, we're good, let's get together, let's get married, like, is that God's best for you? Did you trust God for that? You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Just the idea of the good, the acceptable, and the perfect, that means that there's relationships that can fit into those categories that the Lord can work with, There was this comment on our video about how God puts people together for kingdom. And this person responded. Did you see that comment?
I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
Let's see if I can pull it up. But the person was very adamant, just in the way that they wrote it. Like, I don't know if it'll show up, as there's 115 comments, and I should have kept it. But the way that they said it was just like, they kind of sounded hopeless. And I don't think they were. They were just kind of trying to be realistic about it, I think.
Yeah.
There's a few comments. Here it is. They didn't spell a few things right, but I'm gonna see if I can get this. It says God doesn't put people together. We have free will. This is the idea that God doesn't have any role in putting people together. So that would kind of debunk the idea of soulmates.
Right.
Because the Lord is the creator of our souls. Like, he's the father of our souls.
Right.
And so if God doesn't put us together, at all. Like, if he never does that, then soulmates aren't a real thing. But
Right,
anyway,
right.
it says, God doesn't put people together. We have free will. He doesn't give us all some magical predestined future. Does this guy read Jeremiah? We have to unlock. Oh, he doesn't give us some magical predestined future we have to unlock. He's not a wizard. He's God. He's the Word. And it's written in the Bible exactly what his instructions for us are. We're supposed to be fruitful and multiply the earth. We're supposed to worship him. We are also going to sin. We even have instructions on what to do about that and how it even came about. There is no gray area with God. There is no kingdom on earth. It belongs to Satan, and it is not how God intended. Anyway, all of that to say, God doesn't put people together.
Okay.
You know,
Right, right.
we have free will. So
This soulmates thing
it's,
gets at some really seriously deep questions.
it does.
Free will and determinism, predestination, all
Yeah.
that.
Because it's like, well, if there's somebody that's already out there for you, then why do you have free will?
Right.
And then people will say, like, marriage is the one place that the Lord doesn't really interfere when it comes to who you choose. That's your choice, people aren't required to get married, all these things. And so there's quite a bit of gray area, because
Right.
there's a lot of people who believe one thing and don't believe it. So I don't know. I believe in soulmates. I just think that they're maybe different than what we think they are.
Okay. All right. So is everyone meant to be married?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Why?
Well, there's some people who are born with deformities and born with, mental issues and things like that, or who don't even make it to adulthood. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They don't make it to marrying age. And you have to think the Lord knows all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think everybody is meant to be married. Even if there is someone for everyone. I don't know that it always has to be romantic, but I'm just thinking about people who can't get married, who in just a real world scenario would never get married. They just, either they don't have the mental capacity or the physical capacity or, any number of things.
Right.
Where they really couldn't. They wouldn't be able to.
Right.
So I don't think that everybody. What was the question?
Is everyone meant to be married?
Meant to be married? I don't think so.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think I'm going to ask ChatGPT.
Oh my God.
Hey chat, are you there?
Hey, Brydon. Yep, I'm here. What's up?
Okay, so we're doing a podcast episode right now. We're discussing the topic of soulmates, and I'm just curious if you can give us an answer to this question. Is everyone meant to be married?
That's an interesting topic. Not everyone is necessarily meant to be married. Some people find fulfillment in other relationships, careers, or personal pursuits. It really depends on the individual and what brings them joy and purpose. Some might feel called to marriage, while others might find a different path.
Okay, thanks, chat.
That's a great.
That's actually a great answer. So if you couldn't hear that because the microphone wasn't turned the direction of the speakers, he said, that's an interesting topic. Not everyone is necessarily meant to be married. Some people find fulfillment in other relationships, careers, or personal pursuits. It really depends on the individual and what brings them joy and purpose. Some might feel called to marriage, while others might find a different path. Interessante. Right. So I'm looking at it because obviously marriage in a Latter-day Saint context is extremely important. It's very important in the Christian context as well, but Latter-day Saints it's amplified for sure for various theological reasons. And so the idea of marriage being something to be pursued is, heavy, like it's supposed to, want. It's not good that man should be alone, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think, I don't know, I feel like it is a worthy and righteous desire to want to be married. And I believe God would like, I believe he'd like to honor that for as many of his children as he can, but I do believe there are situations where it's not meant to happen. And so, yeah, man, this is a deep conversation. It goes super deep.
What is a soulmate? Do
Okay.
you have a definition over there?
No, I don't. No. So here's where I'm at with it. I feel like, and I can already tell, I can see the arc of where this is going. And I think it'll be helpful to people, because we've said on previous podcasts that the answer to misuse is not disuse, but proper use. And we're bridge builders. So I think we're probably building a bridge on this topic of soulmate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not like, no, soulmates are evil and they don't exist and it's total fiction and whatever. But it's also not like, oh, I should only wait for my soulmate and just, not take other opportunities. I think it's somewhere in the middle as it relates to marriage. And I think there are other components about soulmate that might even not have anything to do with marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of if I were to summarize the bridge, I feel like starting to build here, that's kind of think where we're probably going. So what would you say the definition of soulmate is? What have you found? How are you synthesizing that? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I found this article on Masterclass that I thought was interesting. And it defines a soulmate as someone with whom you share immense compatibility. Someone with whom you share immense compatibility. Deep connections forge soulmates, and while people often see soulmates through a rom-com lens as a love story perfect match, soulmates can transcend more than romantic love. It is possible that your true love, your spouse or romantic partner, is your soulmate, but you can have another or a different soulmate, like a best friend, a mentor, or a professional partner. So, if you approach this idea of soulmates with this definition of a soulmate being someone with whom you share immense compatibility, then it gets to be just a little bit more broad, and gives more possibilities for ways to make this soulmate connection that maybe weren't possible or weren't on your radar before, I guess. And this article cites like 4 different types of soulmates that you can have, which I think is interesting.
Okay. What are they?
Oh, okay. I wasn't going to read them.
Oh, you weren't? Okay. You just say them. Like, it's fine.
One of them is best friends,
okay.
Which I've totally experienced this. You've experienced this.
Yeah.
In fact, you knew because of your best friend what kind of woman you needed, which is the same thing for me. I always knew that I was going to probably end up with somebody who was very much like my best friend in temperament and in the way that they loved me and the way that they treated me, because I was like, if it's not the same or better than her, then I don't need it.
Right.
you know?
And you always say I'm like the male version of your best friend.
Yeah. Hey, Josie, I love you. I haven't talked to her in a while. But a best friend, what?
Just kidding.
Row. A best friend can be a soulmate. A best friend might be someone you've known since middle school or high school or from an adult friendship. So I think that's interesting. You can have a deep connection with them and, really be at home in each other's presence and that kind of thing. Karmic soulmates, I don't know how I feel about the karma thing, but the essence of this is that this kind of soulmate will come into your life to teach you something or to provide a need that is unmet. And this has to do with you bringing your skills to the table. They're bringing their unique skills to the table and them working together.
It's like a season.
Yeah. So maybe, just not, it doesn't need to be lifelong.
Seasonal soulmates.
Seasonal soulmates. Life partners. A life partner, a spouse, or a significant other can be a romantic soulmate. This soulmate relationship usually entails building a home and a family together. Unconditional love is a marker of this kind of soulmate. So this is the one that gets focused on the most.
Right.
So people don't consider that there could be other deep and abiding connections that you can make with other people. And then this one, twin flame, I've heard this before, but I think this is probably a bit new agey, but it's just the idea of like you having like somebody that's just kind of mirrored in you, like you have specific qualities that you share, passions, even insecurities. Twin flame love can be platonic, emotional, romantic, intellectual, or a combination of any of those. Sometimes it is an artistic collaborator, a mentor, or a standalone friend with whom you share a deep bond. I thought it was interesting that they would mention mentors, because I really don't think people will ever think about that as like, a really deep divine connection that you can have with a mentor, with somebody who can train you in how to be better at whatever it is your field is in life in general, but in business and things like that. I've never thought about soulmates in the arena of business. So that just, I don't know, that was really
it kind of tweaks you
interesting.
because you're so used to soulmates being romantic.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's like the only way we ever think about it. And this idea just kind of, it definitely broadens it, turns it on its head a little bit, because then it makes it possible for you to have connected with a soulmate before and not realize that that's what you had. Even if you don't have, a spouse.
Yep. Yep.
So it's possible for everyone to experience this kind of love, this kind of connection, this soulmate bond, and not have actually like had a romantic relationship with them. Like soulmates can be platonic. The idea of that is kind of tweaking. I don't know. I found this quote by Elizabeth Gilbert. She said, "People think a soulmate is your perfect fit, and that's what everyone wants. But a true soulmate is a mirror. The person who shows you everything that's holding you back. The person who brings you to your own attention so you can change your life.
Whoa.
A true soulmate is probably the most important person you'll ever meet, because they tear down your walls and smack you awake."
That's what I did to you.
Yeah, you smacked me. You definitely did. No.
That's what you did to me.
But you definitely woke me up.
Oh,
for
100.
sure.
I tell people that all the time. The Lord used you to wake me up. Yeah, 100%.
So I really love that quote, because it's the idea of like this person being your mirror and showing you what, because when you look in a mirror, you can see your flaws. We love that song by Justin, but and in the song, it sounds cute. It sounds like, oh, you're just like me, you're a mirror image of me. But when you think about what a mirror does, a mirror shows you what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can see pretty clearly when you got something on your face, or when you need to fix your hair, or you know what I mean? Or you thought you had a great outfit on and you get in the mirror and you're like, no, this is not cute. You know what I mean? Right. And so thinking of a soulmate as a mirror is really interesting too. I don't know. It brings there's some philosophical things happening in my brain.
Yeah, for sure. P.S. We went to the Justin Timberlake concert a couple weeks ago.
We did.
It was so great. Yes, that was great. And he ended with mirrors, and it was so good.
It's so good.
Shout out Aaron and Shayla, our best friends.
We love you guys. Yeah. That was so fun. I was in awe the entire time.
Yeah, because you'd never really been to.
Because I'd never been to a concert of that magnitude and been that close to the stage, because we were at, the bar stage, which they had the main stage, and they had the stage where everybody came like down to be like kind of among the people, and we were at that stage. And so, I mean, I have video. I was like 10 feet from him, and I'm just looking at him like, this is so weird.
Right.
But even like all the lights and all the everything, I was like, oh my goodness. I had never been to an arena concert like that before, with, you know, the full, you know, shebang, all the lights and the cameras and all the things. It was
great.
a lot to take in.
Yeah.
It was my first time. I know I looked like I was not interested because I had like sunglasses on because the lights were starting to trip me out. I thought that I wasn't going to wear them. They were like part of my outfit. And I was like, I'm not wearing these. And then I got in the concert and I was like, I won't survive if I don't put these on. I just wasn't prepared. I didn't know that it would be like that. And so I'm just like kind of standing back behind everyone because I kept getting in the way. So I was just like, you know what? Let me go stand back here so I can, you know, take everything in. And then it was just a lot. But him ending with that song was just like, it was so good. And his voice, he's just like in top form. His voice is amazing. Mindy has got him sounding good.
Yes, Mindy is his vocal coach, and we know her. She's great.
But yeah, I've always loved that song, but I didn't realize that like it's like yeah. After reading this quote, I'm like, a mirror is a little bit more serious than just being like, oh, lovey-dovey, we're in it. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Like what she said, it smacks you awake. It shows you what's wrong with you and what needs to change. And not in a judgmental or critical way, but just in a very matter-of-fact way. When you're in relationship with someone that you have that deep connection with, they don't have to necessarily point out to you what's wrong. That's not the way they function as a mirror. They function as a mirror because you want to be your best self with them, and they bring out the best version of you. But in order for the best version of you to rise, you have to see that it's not the best version of you in the forefront. You know, you have to be aware. It brings some self-awareness. That's the awake part, you know. So that quote got me because I was like, dang, yeah, that's what a mirror does. It's not just like, oh, so cute, like the song lyrics. It's like, no, it's also, I mean, it is the cute things, but it's also very sobering.
Yeah, 100%. So one thing that we have been teaching that made a big difference for us is we call it relationship circles, and we call it PRA, proper relational alignment. Circle 1 is your relationship with God. Circle 2 is your relationship with yourself. And then circle 2.5 is your relationship with your spouse. Circle 3 is your inner circle, or the chosen few. So I want to read these definitions because I think what you're talking about is kind of applicable there. So circle 2.5, that spouse, what I wrote here was, there's only one earthly individual you are biblically called to cleave to and become one flesh with, and that is your spouse. This relationship allows you to reveal your truest self in the most profound manner. In it, we find the highest level of vulnerability and authenticity. This relationship will find expression in sexual intimacy. Okay? Then the chosen few, that next half circle out, is really interesting. So I think this is kind of what you're talking about. You can have the soulmate in the romantic sense, but you can also have soulmates in a different way. The chosen few. This relationship includes individuals with whom there is a profound bond and unwavering devotion. It is characterized by genuine vulnerability and authenticity without any sexual elements. This connection includes deep trust, like close siblings, dearest friends, etc. And so you can be family and not be like chosen few, right? And not experience that profound. So they're just people in your life. So I think it's really, so that's a valid thing, that whether you call them soulmates or not, there are people in your life, inner circle people, who are really important. You need to value those people. Don't overlook them in the pursuit for that circle 2.5, that spouse, right? But it still leaves the question unanswered as to the spouse, right? Because that is what people talk about most of the time. So one question I have there is, some people argue, as we've mentioned to begin with, that believing in soulmates can create unrealistic expectations. So do you think this belief sets people up for failure, or can it actually help them to stay committed in love and to the pursuit of love? Does that make sense?
I think this concept alone, without any of the supporting concepts, without a relationship with God to guide, without context, can be detrimental. It can set you up for disappointment. But I don't think that this is a standalone concept. I don't think it should be without the context of actually like being in relationship with God, being in relationship with others, knowing what it's like to experience destiny helpers in your life that aren't necessarily your spouse. If you know that that is a connection that you love and that you cherish, then you should look for that connection plus a romantic attraction in your person, in the person that you end up with. I think if you're just kind of walking around with blinders and not willing to see anyone that is meant to be a destiny helper to you unless they are, you know, a romantic partner, then that probably speaks to your ability to actually identify the right person for you when they do show up, because you won't even be knowing what to look for. Like as the example that we used earlier, like your best friends, you know, I'm like the same color, two of your best friends.
Right.
Like we have the same skin tone.
Right.
Right.
Right. That played a role for sure.
And it played a role because these are people that you have deep connections with too.
Yeah.
And you recognized that there needed to be an ease in your relationship with me.
Yeah.
Because of the ease that you have in your relationships with them.
Yeah.
And you knew that that was something that you were going to need because you recognized it in that relationship. If you don't have deep abiding connections with other people that aren't a romantic partner, then it's hard for you to be able to tell when a person shows up and they could be a romantic partner, because it's like you don't recognize their ability to be more because you can't even recognize the connection. Like the connection is important. Fostering the connection, nurturing the connection is important. And so I don't think that this concept should be a standalone thing, especially not for a believer. I really heartily believe in you know, it's something we talk about a lot. And so I don't think just the concept of soulmates in and of itself is something that should be pursued just by itself. Okay. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that it requires a lot of other accoutrements.
Biblical accoutrements.
Biblical,
right?
Spiritual, you know, emotional accoutrements. Because you might have a deep connection with someone and they might be a psychopath.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? And you might be like, but this person is my soulmate because we have a deep connection. If that is the only criteria that you are going by.
Right.
But if you have other connections with other destiny helpers and you're like comparing the connection you have with them with the connection you have with the others, and you're like, okay, well, we have this and we have this, but these people are emotionally stable and they're not. You're not supposed to just like trust a connection and that's it, because, you know, they have a connection, but what if they are truly outside of their mind? Are you supposed to just grasp that and hold on to it because, you know, that's for fear that you'll never feel that type of connection with someone else again?
Right.
No, sometimes a relationship is there to inform you of what is possible, and then you can take what you like from that relationship and get rid of what you don't, and hone in on what you want and what you need from a relationship. You wouldn't have known that you needed to be able to laugh genuinely if you had not had to force laughter at some point. Right. You know what I mean? You had sort of a connection with that person, but it wasn't our connection. And you knew from other connections that you had that it was possible to have a stronger one, and you were able to let that connection go. Yeah. So I think just being like, oh, well, We have a connection, so we must be soulmates. I don't think that connection is enough. There has to be, like we said, like there's other relational accoutrements that need to be considered.
Oh yeah, 100%. So it's like the pistons on an engine, right? Like, so you got 4 pistons, right, and 4 pillars of a relationship. And if you got 100% on connection, right, and that chemistry there, but 20% on spiritual, and the other pillars operate at 40% on the like ambition and blueprint side. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are other factors to consider. So I think a soulmate, if you're just looking for that connection, for that feeling, I think that could create unrealistic expectations and make you miss some opportunities that are out there. I have a quote. I want to run this by you. It's from President Spencer W. Kimball, who's a former president of the LDS Church that I come from. And he was pretty explicit about the whole soulmate thing. He said, soulmates are fiction and an illusion. And while every young man and young woman will seek after all diligence and prayerfulness to find a mate with whom life can be most compatible and beautiful, it is certain that almost any good man and any good woman can have happiness and a successful marriage if both are willing to pay the price.
Interesting.
What do you think about that quote?
The man with an experience is never at the mercy of a man with a theory. I would be right on the same page with him if I didn't have you.
Right.
So I can't 100% agree with that. Sorry, President. I can't. I know that there is a tendency in church leadership to discourage things that kind of seem fanciful, things that could turn us off the path because we're too focused on them. We make idols out of things that cannot handle the pressure of being treated like God. And marriage is one of them. And so, especially in your church tradition, but in church in general. And singles tend to be treated as less than, not on purpose, I don't think, but just because, well, you haven't found your person yet, but don't you worry, kind of thing. As if you are not valuable unless you have found the person or been found or whatever the case may be. So I understand the tendency to discourage that. If you're a good person, they're a good person, you can make a go of it and make a good life. And I don't disagree with that. Right. But I don't think the idea of soulmates is false. I don't think that it's an illusion. I think it can be aggrandized to a point that it shouldn't be. I think it shouldn't be magnified the way it is. But I cannot completely agree with what he said because of you.
Yeah.
I have this this is part of my vows. I prayed for you. Countless tears and sleepless nights have been dedicated to the careful construction of your character. I was made for you. Like perhaps I knew you in another life. And not like reincarnation. More like pre-incarnation. Meaning in our previous existence, when we were mere thoughts tucked within the folds of God's mind, we must have been formed from the same dust at the same time. And when our atoms were fathomed, they must have been forged in the very same fire. I'm talking destiny of the highest design. The idea that
Wow. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Ooh. Must have been created from the same dust at the same time. Wow.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are the only person for me, but I do think that if we live a life that takes us along the path back to heaven, then we will encounter the people who are made from the dust that we're made from. The destiny helpers, the people who are made out of the same stuff as us. You know, our tribe, the people who are meant to walk through life with us. The lively stones that should be in our section of the wall,
Yeah.
our section of the kingdom. Yeah, I
Wow.
think that a lot of the people I'm connected to are actually related to me. But the people who aren't, that feel like they are, I think there's something to that. I think there's something to us being so fitly formed together.
Yeah.
It is destiny. It's divine. And you cannot convince me otherwise. It's not a theory. I'm living it.
Yeah.
I can heartily say that there is heaven in this.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm coming to the conclusion on this that I could have been married many times.
Mm-hmm.
I really could have, and I almost was. And I look at that. I'm so grateful for the way the Lord brought things together, because that individual to whom I was engaged, it was very painful for us not to get married. But something in me, I just couldn't do it. And I'm so grateful that now she has found someone who is way better for her than I found you. But we could have been married, and we could have had, as described, a great life. We really could have. But I think there is the good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. And there are green pastures that he would like us to walk in. There are ways that he would like us to move in this world. And we have missions that we've agreed to, I believe. And we have blueprints that we're supposed to fulfill. And what you're describing of people being created from the same dust at the same time, or just on the same frequency, it's those people who seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and who trust that all these things shall be added unto them, who are running that same race with you. Those are the ones that you tend to resonate with the most. Mm-hmm. You can connect with somebody a different way. I mean, because you'll find people that you just resonate with, but they are on a totally different path spiritually. They're not at the same frequency, but you can tell there's something in you and there's something in me that connects at a really deep level, mm-hmm. but it doesn't have the full picture. And because you're choosing not to pursue God with all your heart, mind, and strength, this is going to be a very transactional relationship. And I'm going to love you, mm-hmm. but it's probably not going to continue. But those who are really running after God, you do tend to start to become more like one another and have resonance with each other just on a frequency level. Mm-hmm. And so I think that to me starts to balance the dance between compatibility and destiny. Mm. There is an element of choice in it. God doesn't remove our choice. Mm. I don't believe that you and I had to get married. He told me we had. He said, "Can't you see what I'm doing here? You have to marry her." Mm-hmm. I know he wanted it to happen, and I have that assurance. And people from the outside would look at our relationship and say, "No, you obviously heard him wrong, because she's not Latter-day Saint and you're not Pentecostal, and this isn't going to work. There's can't be." But in our situation, you were pursuing God. You were seeking personal growth and development and understanding your personal blueprint. I was doing the same thing, and we found that our blueprints overlapped. And it's very clear to me that there's no other two people that are meant to do what we're meant to do. the way that we're supposed to do it. There might be people with similar missions, but we have individual blueprints that are completely unique, but then also a couple's blueprint that is completely unique. And I agree with you. Like, I would have to have said the same thing, like, yeah, soulmates are fiction and an illusion, but because of what I've experienced, it's led both of us to do some things that are quite counterintuitive, that other people would judge, but we know that God has us for each other. So I tend to believe that your choices really impact who you're going to marry, and you ultimately do have the choice. I didn't have to marry you. God did not force me, and he didn't force you, but it was because we were seeking him so ardently that we were led to each other. And so I have to believe that that can be the experience of many other people if they will seek him with all their heart, and they'll be led into their blueprint and to find the person who's running theirs, who's meant to be their missing piece, if you will. But I also believe that and we've said it, like, if we would have met 6 months earlier, we would not have seen each other. If you hadn't done the work and I hadn't done the work, then we could have just said, no, okay, yeah, this might be ordained, but we're not going to participate in the blessing. And that too. And that is a two-way street, because you could have chosen not to participate and I could have, and it wouldn't matter.
True.
Like, we wouldn't have gotten married. So this is really interesting. So I think there is a lot of nuance to this idea. And it's definitely not, the soulmate idea is not to be jettisoned, but it's also not to be idolized. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's meant to be put in its proper place.
Yeah.
And within the context of all of the other accoutrements that go with it.
Of relational accoutrement.
Relational accoutrement.
Okay, so last question. What advice would you give to someone who is waiting and hoping for their soulmate, but feels discouraged or uncertain about whether that person exists?
Sorry, you just fine. I'm having a hard time focusing.
Oh my gosh. You want me to say it again?
Yeah.
All right, okay. All right, question again. What advice would you give to someone who is waiting and hoping for their soulmate, but feels discouraged or uncertain about whether that person exists?
I would say run your blueprint. If you don't know what it is, figure it out. Get with the Lord and ask him to reveal to you what your blueprint is. Contrary to what this young man said in our comments, God has a blueprint for you. He has a plan for your life, and it is predestined. I don't know if he's ever read Jeremiah, but Jeremiah says, before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you. I knew you. For anyone to know anything, it has to exist in their mind first. It has to exist in their thoughts. That's what I was saying in my vows. It's like we were mere thoughts tucked within the folds of God's mind. We were there, existent, full, and already completely planned. Now, there are myriad different ways that the plan can actually be enacted, but God has a plan for you. And if you choose to participate in it, you will find the best version of yourself that you've ever been. It takes you finding him first, but that's part of the journey. It's part of the relationship. You know, I would say shore up your relationship with God, get intimate with your blueprint, run your blueprint, live your blueprint, keep your eyes open for the other destiny helpers that come along during your journey to becoming the best version of yourself. Clock those connections, catalog those connections, cherish and nurture those connections, and pay attention, because while you are nurturing and building those platonic soulmate connections, with those destiny helpers that are coming into your life as you walk out and live out your blueprint, I think the connections will become more frequent the closer you get to the person who is meant for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like destiny helper breadcrumbs, like breadcrumbs leading to a whole loaf of bread, or breadcrumbs leading to a whole slice. The closer you get to who you're supposed to be with, to you making that connection with the person that the Lord has for you, whether we call it a soulmate or not, the closer you get to that, the stronger those signs will be.
Mm.
The more right you will feel about the direction you're headed for the blueprint of your life, and the more resistance you will experience. Because resistance always gets stronger the closer you get to why God has you on the planet. And your spouse is going to be your ultimate destiny helper, or should be.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you start facing stupid resistance and you don't know why, you know where it's coming from, something's on the way. And it might not be your spouse. It might be something else that the Lord is sending you. But that's really all you can hope for. And understand that God is the ultimate soulmate. So even if you never meet one in the flesh, you always have one who is accessible to you, because he made your soul. He's the father of your soul. There is no better mate for your soul than the one who made it.
Amen. That's great, babe. Thank you for saying that. You beat me to the punch on the God is your soulmate thing. I would say the same thing. My response would be very similar, that pretty much the majority of problems that you have in any area of life can be solved if you will get yourself into that proper relational alignment. God first, self, spouse. There's a space there for your spouse, but if you're not married, don't idolize that space. You can focus on the next circle. So it's got love God, self, and neighbor. That's how it's constructed. That's the way that God's put it together. As you focus on your relationship with God, everything will flow in the other relationship circles out of that. And you'll have the best chance at being led to and intersecting with that person who is really the optimal selection for you. But I would also say that there are, I believe, a lot of variables in the equation and a lot of alternate destinations, alternate possibilities. And so don't get so hung up or lament the departure of one person who you thought was your soulmate that you now will not be satisfied with any other relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Or don't be so hung up with such an unrealistic expectation that you can't see someone who would be a great helpmeet for you as you run your blueprint. But I definitely think get relationship with God and understand your blueprint is going to help you the very most in recognizing that person when they come. You will see the middle of the Venn diagram. When they add their piece to yours, you'll understand where you intersect. You don't understand that if you don't know your piece. It's truly a situation where two wholes make a whole. And if you both are doing the work, you have to be praying for that person. Pray that they are doing the work. Pray that they are making those decisions. You can't control it. You can't control their choice, but you can be praying for it. And I believe God can work through that. I have this, you read your vows, and I have this little birthday note that I sent to you. Really interesting. I don't know when this was. It could have been recent, but it was a social media post, so I feel okay reading it.
Okay.
But I said, happy birthday, babe. What can I possibly say? This year, I hope to do even more to let you know how much of a treasure you are to me. We are literally living a dream, the dream that God gave us, our blueprint. I know we're not supposed to limit ourselves to soulmates, but I'll tell you that there is no one better for me and nobody else I could possibly see myself with, like for real. Everything about my life is better because of you. You are my missing piece. I love you forever. Thank you for choosing me every day. I love you from every part of my heart. And I truly feel all that. And so I pray that for you, if you're waiting on God for marriage, I pray that you can have that same experience or better.
Better.
And I also believe that it's not going to be perfect when you get started. And perhaps the most important thing, what I said there, was thank you for choosing me every day. Even though we have a strong cosmic connection that is quite possibly rare, we make a choice every day. I have to choose you over our son. I have to choose you over my career and making money. I have to choose you over the NBA app and Instagram. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I have to choose you. And it's a nurturing. I believe it's amplified because of the strength of our connection, that every little effort we make seems to have a greater impact. It doesn't seem to have to be as forced as much, and I'm grateful for that. There's an acceleration to it because of the inherent strength of our connection. But I do believe if two people will make the choices every day to do the things that will make a relationship flourish, they can have similar feelings. I've seen it over and over again. You see these older couples who have made those choices, they all say that the love gets stronger and stronger. And I believe that can be the case for anybody. So I'm definitely an and. I think we've built a bridge here between the concepts of no soulmates and all soulmate. I think there's a bridge. And so hopefully you're encouraged by the and that we presented here. Don't give up on pursuing that beautiful connection, but also don't be so fixated on it that you miss what could be right in front of you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good job, babe.
Thanks.
You guys, I'm really grateful that you guys are here. If you're here at the end, congratulations. We know, as we've said before, why some of you are here. Some of you didn't even wait. You went to the end and then went back to the beginning, which is hilarious to me. Like, we have certain people who comment only on the joke every week. And so we don't want to leave you without a smile on your face. Before we do that, we just want to remind you to like, comment, subscribe, share, get on a website.
Yes.
Just keep your eyes open for all the things that are going to be happening. We're going to be doing some, really cool things. I'm actually dropping a song.
Oh, yeah.
By the time you see this, it will have been dropped already, but we'll put that in the
Bad woman.
Okay. We'll put that in the community and everything. Let you guys know. We always try to keep you guys posted on what's going on with us. So we will do that. And of course, we don't want to leave you without a smile on your face. So, babe.
No, all this talk about cosmic connection had me thinking about space and, the universe and everything, and reminded me of something I heard. What did the aliens say to the landscaper? Take me to your weeder. Take me to your weeder. Anyway, we love y'all, man.
We love you guys. I don't know why you always catch me off guard. That got me.
That's good.
Okay.
All right.
Love you guys. Thank you so much. And go out there and build your own bridges. We love you guys.
Peace.
Bye.
It's better with us two.